Welcome everybody to the Rebels by Design Wrestling Podcast presented by HustleJet ENT. This is episode number 8. This week we are joined by Mr. Wade Simmons, an independent filmmaker for nearly 15 years, funeral service worker, and for 2 years to have been trained in the professional wrestling world with uh, CSW in Chicago, which stands for Chicago State Wrestling. So my first question to you is: tell us your story about how you got into wrestling school for training.
So actually, I'm an independent filmmaker, so I was interested in making a documentary about professional wrestling. And so I knew like Steve Boz was training of the up and coming talent like Axel Rico, Sky Blue, some of the other people. And I reached out to him and I was asking him like, cool if I come make a documentary, but also we talked about how like I wrestled in high school too. So when I went to the CSW, the training to the school, when I was talking to Steve, at the talking, they introduced all the different wrestlers. So he said, "Well, when you gonna start training?" And I'm like, "You know what? Next week." So it all started from just actually wanting to do a documentary about it.
It's kind of one of those spare moment things, huh? Like, okay, like I'll do it now. Why not?
Yeah, I mean, life is full of adventures, right?
Exactly. So, what do you think was the most challenging thing you dealt with when you trained in the wrestling ring?
So for the most part, it was kind of getting used to, kind of just getting used to like being involved with it because like I watched it on TV and I wrestled in high school, but of course it's nothing like what you think it is. So like it's just kind of getting to know the different locker room. That's really kind of getting through the training and stuff.
Exactly. So that kind of brings me to my next question about training as a wrestler, right? So over the years, we have heard this false narrative from people who watch wrestling and think it's always this, is that, it's fake, it's all these things, that the wrestling ring is a quote trampoline and so forth. But us true fans and people who have been in a ring know that's not nearly true. So, in your own words, describe what it feels like to take a bump in an actual wrestling ring.
Well, if you're not careful, you can seriously injure yourself. So like you have to really know what you're doing. And
Right.
I mean, I take my head off to like anybody that does it because it's not as easy as like a lot of wrestlers do. Bodies on the line. I mean, like seriously injured. You
Oh
know what I'm
yeah.
saying? So like, you have to really be passionate about it. I did it more as a hobby, but some of the other people, that's their life. And
Yes.
so like, be surprised. Like, the injuries are real.
Well, like you seen like all like especially like the older guys now, like they having back surgery, knee replacements, hip replacements, and neck issues, shoulder issues because like yeah, because I was falling in that ring, and a lot of people always say, a lot of the wrestlers do say like it's like falling on concrete a bunch of times.
Yeah, and a lot of people realize that like a lot of the people who wrestle, a lot of people are passionate about it because like if you look at the stuff a lot of wrestlers go through, and just the like training and just kind of getting used to network, working these shows and sometimes struggling financially and nature. So it's like you have to be passionate about it. There's no way around being passionate about
Exactly,
it.
exactly. Unfortunately, I didn't have the proper health to be getting in the ring myself. I had bad knees since high school and so forth, so that's kind of what kept me away from getting in a ring for training like that. But I remember as a little kid, I wanted to do it so bad. I wanted to do it so bad, but my body said, "No, you're not going to do it." I'm like, "Oh," it's one of those kind of things. But like I started just following as a fan, like, and try to talk to people to and learn about their experiences, tell their stories, and I've always been fascinated about these. Even like the worst stories, like they tell, "Oh yeah, I'm sitting in the back seat, I'm sleeping in the trunk of my car because I can't afford a hotel
Yeah,
room. I'm eating potatoes and peanut butter sandwiches because that's the only kind of food I can afford." That's a Stone Cold Steve Austin story I've heard. That he would eat
yeah,
potatoes and sleep in the back of the seat of his car. So like that's passion to keep going with that.
yeah. It's a lot, and I mean, like I said, like a lot of people training were dedicated because I know like we had practice on. Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Saturday. See, I work funeral bit, so
Right.
I didn't make it on Tuesday, and then I went on Thursdays when I could. Fridays, that would be like we would have our show like once a month, and I mean, like I said, I went to all the shows. I came to training. I went on Tuesday times, but I never made practice on Saturdays. I worked, so I had to be at Saturday. So it's pretty cool. I'm still kind of back into another promotion, so that working on a brand new promotion that I'm affiliated. So just kind of getting ready for that.
And
But I
that's
mean, I had a blast, man. I met a lot of cool like people I used to watch on TV. I
absolutely.
met I met Scotty Too Hotty, I met Carlito, I met so many other people.
And as a fan, I always like love hearing people story when they meet certain wrestlers and stuff because I met a ton of them, like, especially in the last couple of years, especially because the Square Circle Expo is in Indianapolis, which is a 4 hour drive for me, and they have a big wrestling convention every year, and it's driving distance for me to get there. So like all of these talents that I watched on TV or I've still watched or in some capacity are still on TV, like AEW's talents there. Lita was there with her tag title when she was the women's tag champion 2 years ago. It's like she was there with the belt, and she's a friend of mine that I got to know thanks to the pandemic, and
Yeah, that's awesome.
so, but like Hornswoggle's always there every year because he always have like the major wrestling podcast that he's kind of a part of with Matt Cardona and Brian Myers and so forth, and they're always a part of that show as well. So I always love like hearing the stories and being able to have the chance to meet these people that I've watched on TV and say, "Hey, I admire you." Just say thank you for what you've done. Because
Yeah, it's tremendous. It's amazing. Like a lot of people understand like what people, but from being a part of it, I really had a really cool experience. Like I'm like man, like see what watch on TV. Like it's not always as good as what it,
no,
because I mean from wrestling, like wrestling in the Staples Center, nice arena, but a lot of times wrestling in bars and school gymnasium.
oh yeah, I've been to some of those shows where like they're in, not in the most glamorous buildings, but as American, I'm supporting the talent. There's people I knew that were wrestlers or had thought their dad. In fact, one of my first independent wrestling shows I went to, I, one of a classmate in high school, his dad was one of the wrestlers that he
Okay.
was, and at the time, this was like 97, 98. So the Monday Night War was like in its peak, and his dad just happened to recently have a match on WCW as an enhancement guy. He fought the Giant or Big Show
Okay.
as we know now, and that was his dad. You know, and
That's
but
awesome.
he's also wrestled a lot locally because we're fortunate to be in the Midwest where wrestling is a hotbed in Chicago, St. Louis, and all that. So
Yeah.
so there's plenty of schools, plenty of like little promotions running around all over the place between the two states alone. There's a lot of
Yeah.
opportunities.
And that was really surprising to me because, like, I never thought in my wildest imagination that I would have actually started training for professional wrestling. But when I got a part of it, I saw, like you said, that in the West, it's really big. Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, especially.
Yeah.
And so, like, making the connections and just so many people, man, it's a blast, man. And it's like a lot of people don't realize it, but the wrestling community, like, it's really, it's all over, spread it out, but it's really a small. Like everybody pretty much knows everybody. Just you know?
Yeah, and that's what I was talking to on my last podcast. I had her Simmons, who was a promoter in the Southern Illinois, St. Louis area. He's been doing it for 52 years, and
Okay.
he actually got the shadow Sam Mushnick, who was wrestling at the Chase and the founder of the NWA, like the original NWA. He
Nice.
was like the president, though. Like he has all this historic knowledge that he passes on every single day, and he goes. One of the things he always got from wrestling was like he made so many friends just because they showed to one of the shows. He just started talking to people. whether wrestlers, fans, family members
Yeah,
of a wrestler, it's just whoever, you
yeah,
know.
and the fanfare is real. Like at CSW Chicago Style Wrestling, there was like so many fans. And, it's nice, man. Like because like I said, I had no idea all that was right in Chicago,
Right.
and so like to me, amazing how like sometimes kind of take a leap of faith and just kind of look into something. Like you don't ever know what you can. I had a blast, man, and it's like I'm still looking forward to doing. Like man, I met so many just to even see how far some of the people that train with have come. Like Shelley. I mean she started around the same time we did. Like look at her now, like she is killing it right
Yeah,
now,
she's taking off.
and yeah, she's taking off, and even a friend of mine like Levi, he's managing some pretty big things. So like I'm just excited for
Yep.
people.
Yeah, I love that kind of stuff. Like, um, so while you're in their training, obviously, whether from a wrestler, a coach, or someone who's in your classmates that was in your class, what was the best advice you've gotten from any of them?
Well, I would say my good friend John Lopez, who also was training, he always used to say like because like a lot of times a lot of people in wrestling, of course, people goals are to get an NWA, possibly AEW, maybe WWE, maybe New Japan. Um, but for the most part, I like what John used to say. Like when we practice, would always say like, I'm enjoying the journey and not the destination. You
There you
know,
go.
and I think that that's a really positive way to look at it because like along the way, like the journey that you take into practicing, getting to know people, taking bumps, and just working these shows and stuff, right? Like those are the moments you appreciate, because a
Exactly.
lot of times, I feel like people feel like you have to go up to some of these, but when you think about it, to me, it doesn't really matter where you go. I think it matters more the impact that you make where you are. And I
Exactly.
think that's more important than anything.
And that's kind of also helps you keep a level head on everything too. Like not say, "Oh, my ego is so massive," because oh, I think I belong here, or I'm over here now, so none of the stuff I did before matters. And some people actually get those egos and don't appreciate where they and almost forget. Like, yeah, you didn't always have all this.
Yeah, yeah, because like I said, like in practice, like everybody's just there to learn. Everybody's there to better. Everybody's there to best perform that they can because again, it's a profession.
Yep.
It's entertainment, and to me, I think that like it's a beautiful thing when you work with people you actually like because like I said, first of all, WWE watching it as a child, like oh my god, man, it was phenomenal, man. Like I mean, between the storylines with Kane and the Undertaker,
Oh yeah.
The Rock and Stone Cold, Brock Lesnar, Chris Jericho, the Road Dogg, the Godfather, Jazz, watching all like getting to see do the thing. So to me, just to be a part of that, like it's kind of mind blowing, man. Like it's really amazing because, like I said, I remember the WWE that I watched as a child. Of course, it's called WWF, but
Right.
like the storylines, like it's so many memorable things, man. Like it was cool, but I loved it.
Because that's how I got to wrestling, more consistently in the early '90s, like right when it was basically the end of Hulkamania, start of what they called the new generation, what was like all about Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and Diesel and all that. That's kind of when I started watching it on a weekly basis. But I was back in the day of we were renting videotapes, we're renting. And so it's never nothing was ever in order what you're watching. Like, oh, here's WrestleMania 3. Next time you go there, here's WrestleMania 5. Here's the Royal Rumble of this year. Like nothing was in order. So it's like the other thing was kind of like I'm not sure what was going on exactly until I got to that point to understand what was the who was feuding with who now, who was doing this, who was doing that, and being I'm in St. Louis, which both companies, the NWA, WCW, and WWE, were kind of all fighting each other within our city, having shows there. So it's like we had the best of both worlds in the Midwest in a lot of
Yeah,
ways.
and absolutely. Like I said, I guess I didn't pay. I got involved. Like
Right.
Midwest has a lot going. I mean, of course, Florida has its fair share in the wrestling business. Like it's like I said, Chicago, Iowa,
Yeah,
Wisconsin, places like you said, St. Louis. It's a lot going on in the wrestling world, and I mean, a lot of people like don't really realize, like get to a decent wrestling, you shot. You never know.
yeah,
You might be the next thing.
yeah. And I've seen people within the two areas, you know, become like, hey, they got jobs here now. They're on all over TV now, and
Yeah,
then they were like regularly on these shows that I've seen in my area. Like
yeah,
Danhausen was a regular over here, or he got to AEW in Ring of Honor.
nice.
And he was there all like every single month. He was at the same shows, even with his broken foot. That before
Yeah,
right before he signed with AEW, he broke that foot, and like he was one of them. Like Ethan Page was here all the time. We had these guys that like I'm going, oh my god, they're not there now.
yeah, and that's the thing though. Like I said, like growing up watching WWE and slash WWF and even WCW back in the day, and even TNA.
Yeah,
Like watching, like a lot of times when a wrestler would come on the scene, oh, this guy's doing stuff like that. But when you start getting into the follow the indies,
yeah,
you'll realize that a lot of these, like 8, 12 years, 10, they even top sometimes. So not everybody is an overnight sensation. I mean, you have some people who might, maybe do it for years, but
right.
there's some people that like been really like, working off and working hard trying to get the, like it's a really beautiful thing, man. Like really kind of seeing people grow, man, and just super supportive.
And like for example, like you're from Chicago area, Guy Blue was one of those people I watched from like way before she made it. Like she was still, when she was breaking into the business, she was another person that was, touring the Midwest, based out of
Yeah, that's
Chicago,
awesome.
and I saw her here like 3, 4 years before even AEW really was even a thing.
Nice. And by the time I came wrestling scene,
Yeah,
she was kind of, I think, just like getting into AEW. But she came to practice and work with us a couple of times and stuff. But like I said, we work with a lot of people. I got a
right.
chance to meet Dante Martin. He came out to the practices and stuff. So like I
Yeah,
said, like it's really cool. So many. And I think everybody is cool. Like no matter where they are, whether they're in AEW or whether they're still in CSW, whether they're like to
yeah.
me, it's a lot of beautiful there with me all over, man. It's a pretty cool.
And wrestlers are so cool, especially when they're in a great mood. Especially when I go to these legend conventions, like, and one of the guys that I work with, the guy I talked to, he just started doing legend conventions for less. This has been his third year doing it. The first one I went to of his, uh, Luke of the Bushwhackers. We just sprung a conversation together, like, it was all because I was wearing a Roddy Piper shirt. And so he just started telling me all these stories about him and Piper back in Portland, and just tell me all these crazy stories. Like, hey, I see your Piper. So let me tell you something about this guy.
Yeah, and it's amazing how, like I said, like a lot of these come from a lot of smaller places, and a lot of people come from the
Yeah,
same city. Like it's because I mean, when you think about the pro wrestling business, right? Even with Chicago alone, right? Like you got
right.
CM, you got David Eltunga,
Oh yeah,
you got so many other people. Like Chicago has a lot of wrestling talent alone coming out of this place.
they
I
had it
believe
for
Maria
years.
from WWE, she came from Chicago, so like it's
Yeah,
so many talented people.
and you think about the all time greats like Lex Luger, the Road Warriors, all Chicago.
Awesome.
And St. Louis is kind of like, well, we have Randy Orton, we have Harley Race was a Missouri guy. We had a lot of older guys that were out of here, but like I feel like Chicago has.
I believe James out of
Yes, he
St.
is.
Louis.
Yes, he
Yeah.
is.
He comes to CSW quite a bit too. Yeah.
So like I was like one of the people like when like during the pandemic when Cody Rhodes was doing this in AEW was doing his open challenge for the TNT title, and he was one of the guys that got a chance to answer one of the calls. And it was like I seen this guy already, but like the reason why he got the call was because social media kept pushing him because they loved this guy. You know, he was so
And
popular.
that I think that that's one of the great things for wrestling now too. Like a lot of times, I'm gonna be like some of these because of social media and sometimes having letting the fans have more
Yeah,
of a voice. I think that has like pushed a lot of careers. It's kind of a good because sometimes just like I said, this is something I witnessed. And like there's a lot of talented people don't all right push that they.
exactly.
And I'm gonna be real. I've seen that, but that's why you got to keep pushing stuff out there. When you see other people around you in the wrestling world, right? Like other people celebrate other people too.
Yeah,
Promote other people, not
it,
just about promoting ourselves.
exactly. And like and then I remember that because I remember when it was Eddie Kingston who was a long time independent wrestler. Everybody pushing him for Ado to sign this guy after he answered that Cody Road call because that promo and his showing against Cody, like we want more of this guy. And he was always and he's been in the business for a good long time before he even got that chance.
Yeah,
And
and you
mainly
know
because
what?
he didn't look like a bodybuilder for one, and he was different.
Yeah,
But the
and Eddie
guy could
Kingston.
talk.
Yeah, I've seen some of his work, and like I mean, man, like guys are made too. So that's why, like I said, it's a lot of talented people. Like I said, like MJF,
Yes,
like AEW has a really impressive roster. Like I mean, like pretty impressive. So like they have like a lot of talented people. That's what that's the one I do like about the pro wrestling world. But I also kind of like to see a little bit of change in it too. And what I mean by that is like like start you a QB over.
absolutely.
I think that it's like okay for instance like I mean like you look at WWE right like how Jay Uso just won the Rumble right.
Mm-hmm.
That was something a little different. Like most people probably thought John Cena like I
Nobody had
don't
that
think
one. I don't know. Because matter of fact, I was doing a live reaction stream about the Royal Rumble last night, and on Thursday we did like a prediction stream for that to kind of everybody pick who you think gonna win. Nobody had Jey Uso, and I loved it so much. And even though the social media are destroying it that he won, I'm like, it's great because you didn't expect it. Nobody
yeah.
saw it coming.
Yeah, and that's and I think that that's the thing. Like I feel like the wrestling business, because of course way before I stepped foot into professional wrestling, I've been filmmaking for a very long time.
Right.
And like I said, of course I'm an indies filmmaker, but the fact is, as a storyteller, wrestling is telling us. So
Yes.
you don't want to always push the same old. Because okay, Roman Reigns, I'm a Roman Reigns fan, but guess what? Roman Reigns has main event so many times. You
Right.
know, I'm a CM Punk fan. But guess what? CM Punk, Roman Reigns, those guys already have a name. Those
Yes.
guys already have a legacy. So, those guys are able to now pass the torch to other people. So, could maybe use the push and support. Because CM Punk, like I said, like, back then, CM Punk was promo. Wrestling, like, man, pretty cool, man. Like, he
Yep.
had a lot of cool storylines, too, And what I like about CM, right, like, I like that he outspoken his character, and like kind of remind me of myself a bit. So like I can rock with that, but it's like to be real with you, like time to see start to push some of their other people out of the spotlight because you know what range, and so like even like when he left WWE, went and helped AEW out, man,
Right.
stock way up, and then back to WWE. Like I thought that was really that's what I'm saying. Like it's time for them to start like and even like with the Uncle Howdy character, right? With Bo Dallas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when they had Bray Wyatt and Howdy, like I thought that was a story. And so like it's time for them to start pushing younger people and not just the younger people, some of the background for it,
Right.
you know?
And
Trying
that's
to do
what
something a little different.
exactly, and that's one of the things. Like, okay, L.A. Knight is another guy that they have. That he's been in the business for a long time, and he finally got extremely over with the WWE crowd. But it's like he always had that personality and charisma, but he never not got that window of opportunity for whatever the reason was. Never understood that. That's just me because yeah, I always thought it's from TNA to the NWA. He would always show this really good, mic work, telling story, good promo, and he was never was a bad wrestler in the ring either. He was a solid hand.
Yeah,
So I'm like,
yeah.
so I spent a lot of years going, like, why is this guy not getting the calls that he should be getting?
And sometimes I think actually hurts the
Yeah,
because I think that a lot of wrestling fans nowadays, like myself, like okay, I've trained for, it, but of course
yeah,
I was more active. I didn't, like I said, when I became a part of it, I was more having fun. You know what I'm
right,
saying? And to me, it's like I think of what I had when I watched Triple H, when I watched The Undertaker, when I
right.
watched Bobby Lashley, Brock Lesnar, Shelton Benjamin, Kofi Kingston.
Those
When I
guys
watched them
are
guys, I remember memories of Rock and Stone Cold. I'm like, if I were to continue, like I would like to make it memorable.
right.
You don't want to, like push. No, want to try something different because honestly, I never get the attitude.
Oh
It's
no,
it's gone, but try to make it as exciting as you.
like you want to leave your own personal stamp to the business. Like this is like, yeah, this has been done, but I did this, and you're gonna
Yeah,
be talking about me for like 10, 15, 20 years from now. Because I
yeah,
did.
because I think that's the mistake that sometimes people make is that sometimes they try to focus on the past,
Yes,
which the past is good, but it's over, and the past is a now. So I feel like you have to be about creating new. Like I said, when I was training, I've seen so many talented people that overlooked. I've seen so many talented people that have been coming faithfully to practice and faithfully working hard and stuff like that, but they just had extra.
right. And that's one of those things I always remember. Multiple wrestlers have said in the past, like, don't focus on trying to be the next Hogan, the next Rock, next Cena, or whoever. Focus on being the first you.
Yeah,
Because like,
absolutely. Because like when I started training, right, I had my own way. I had my character already lined up, like because I came in already own creativity. Like I
right,
was not trying to mimic copy off nobody because guess what? That's them. Like I was even an MVP fan,
right,
But again, these are individual characters, and to me, it's about trying to create. You know? Because like I said, I remember Stone us and what I gave us, and
yeah,
they gave us some dynamic memories. But again, we don't want to try to recreate that. We want to share with people something new that will leave imprint in something memorable for them.
exactly. That's how it should always should be because that's how the wrestling in itself keeps evolving because you want to keep it fresh.
I like the way Shawn Michaels told Seth Rollins one time when I think it was I don't know if it was, maybe I'm getting it, maybe it was Dolph Rollins talking to Shawn Michaels. It was one of them, but I think it was like they say I remind them of Shawn Michaels was like, hey, you shouldn't want to be like nobody. I didn't want to be like anybody, kid. And whoever Shawn Michaels was talking to, I remember that promo. I like that Shawn Michaels said that because not to be like anybody else. You can be inspired by them,
Oh
but
yeah,
you have to create your own.
I remember that promo. And I'm trying to remember who it was now. Had me thinking about that for a second.
I think it was Seth Rollins, but I think it might have been one of them.
I can see it
But
being out of the way because a lot of people do compare Dolph to Sean too because
yeah,
he does a super kick, the way he sells in the ring, like the way he bumps is similar to kind of Mr. Shawn Michaels, a Mr. Perfect to me. The way he,
but to me, I gotta take my head out to come on,
Yes.
Cactus Jack, uh, Mankind.
I had the opportunity to meet him 2 years ago,
Nice.
and he was such a cool guy. Like really,
Yeah.
like he's one of the guys like you wish he had more an opportunities to sit down and just talk to him. But obviously, he had a line of people wanting to meet the guy, so like he wasn't able to really do that. But like he was one of the guys like you just tell this guy is the guy you just want to talk to and have conversations with.
Yeah, because like, and that's the thing, right? Like, if you don't get a chance,
Yeah,
you don't know what you have because a lot of times there's a lot of talented people. But I always say that sometimes in life, right? You know, it's about talent to a certain degree, but a lot of times that's why, like I said, I wish the promotions kind of start like away from like kind of putting people in a box
right.
and just have these shows with everybody and let the people kind of see what's out there because a lot of times when you try to control it, a lot of times like you may be putting somebody in the spotlight, but that spotlight might be better for somebody else,
That's
you know. And maybe this person you got to put them. So it's not about pushing the person. To me, about collectively showing all talent and letting the
yeah,
people ultimately decide what they like better.
and that's how Doherty used to be back in the day. Because don't go Steve Austin when that took off. That was more of a natural thing.
Yeah,
Because Austin changed his character from the ringmaster whole and became Stone Cold, and week after week he's got more and more over, where it became to a point where Doty could not deny this guy no more,
yeah,
and The Rock became the same thing, and
yeah,
that's where Doty kind of in the mid 2010s went away from that. Like they
yeah.
want to manufacture Roman Reigns as the number one babyface, and it didn't work because the fans were like, "We don't want this guy. We wanted this guy."
Yeah, and see that's the thing, right? Because again, everybody is talented,
Yes.
because all of these people are athletic. All of these can showcase their skill. But again, if you take this guy and say this is gonna be the guy, but to me, you have to kind of let it happen naturally because when you try to manufacture it, a lot of times it doesn't go over well. Like sometimes you try to push somebody as a face, and
Yes.
you know, and then sometimes you try to put somebody as a heel and they become a face. So
Like
it's like I think to me, you should let people out there tell the best story they can tell, see how the fans react to it, rather than trying to just force it and say this guy doesn't have the look, she doesn't have the look,
right.
because a lot of times they care nothing about that. They care about your talent. They care about your skill.
And that's one of the things about Roman Reigns. Though. Like they try to push him as this superhero babyface, did not work. But then when they so he disappeared for a bit, came back as the whole doing the whole tribal chief gimmick, became a heel, and became like one of the best characters we've seen in wrestling history. And now he is a top face where they want him originally because the character that he's playing is the character that they enjoy. Therefore, compared to what he was before, because he wasn't just, hey, I'm the lone shield guy now. I Shield was broken up, but I still dress the same as I was in the Shield, so it wasn't anything new, and it just didn't work. But then the whole travel sheet thing came around, and like, that's the guy we wanted.
Yeah, and see, I really love the last story. I think it went home, but I mean ultimately I kind of like what they did because I kind of like the head of the table. You know?
Yeah,
I kind of like this a little bit, but that's the thing, right? Like I said, you have to give the opportunity because a lot of times you can open. Like I said, a lot of these wrestling have very talented people. I've seen it,
yeah.
but sometimes they just certain people. I think to me that's actually kind of something that's hurting a bit. Like I said, just because something doesn't mean right or it doesn't mean best thing. Sometimes you might get by with it. Sometimes if you try something a little surprise, you know?
Absolutely. And I think there's a lot of guys in the AEW side of things that, if given the opportunity, They would surprise a lot of people.
Yeah, because again, like it's and like I said, like there's a lot of time that like I mean, like I worked at a show at CW, and I was very impressed with this one wrestler by the name of Megan Payne. She kind of like
Yeah,
a Wonder Woman kind of gimmick, whatever, but
yeah,
she was really impressive. I gotta say, like her match was really impressive. Like, and I like seeing something different, you know. And I think now she's kind of getting a bit of a push now, but it's like when you start to really like, I guess for you watching any while too, but
right.
a lot of people like you see a lot of incredible talent out there, and some people kind of wish. Yes, I just hope that wrestling gets to the point where they just start like utilizing all of their talent and just showcasing it that way. I think that can get creative and not be stiff or not be stuck.
And there's some guy who's locally here, and there's one guy who he was here for a while, but now he's kind of. I'm waiting for him to get his big break because I know he's been in MLW for a little bit, um, a couple other the bigger independent companies, but not like on the mainstream TV. Name was Calvin Johnson,
Okay.
big dude, kind of reminds you of Samoa Joe in style, but he's got a lot of personality too.
Okay.
And he's more of a super heavyweight style, but he moves like Samoa Joe did back in the day.
Yeah.
Like he's very he can he's very athletic for a guy that his size. And you look at him on paper like he's got to be above 300 pounds in
Yeah.
weight.
And that's like the thing, right? Like I said, like you just said, like there's so many talented people, and like I said, I think like the wrestling world right now has a lot of talent, and I think at the time when you have so many veterans still on the scene now,
Yeah,
this is the time to start pushing some of these younger people. You got Chris Jericho around,
well,
you got MVP around, Bobby Lashley, Triple H. Like, why these guys are still around? This is the time for it to start bringing up some of these different young people. Like, not all, the same. Like I said, the same old. Like, it's
yeah.
time to switch it up a little.
And there's a lot of guys
Like,
that there's
I'm gonna give you a good example. Like WWE, they built up Gable Stevens, right?
yes.
And then they did nothing with it.
I think there's some outside issues that brought that up too. That came
Yeah,
up too.
but this is my thing here. That's why to me, I think puff people up, let them prove their work first.
Yeah,
You know, and I think it kind of goes and okay, this is the next rock. No, you don't have to do that.
and that
Just
was
let
their first
them.
mistake with Gable was they tried to say, oh well, he's going to be the new Kurt Angle because he's also an Olympic gold medalist and this and that and the other. I'm like, don't do that.
Yeah,
Like let Gable be Gable, like
yeah.
let him come with his
And,
own personality, his own thing.
and I mean, it's still not too late. Like I said, you never know. So that's understood. But I'm just saying, like I would have better when they brought him in. Let him wrestle a little. You know, let him wrestle a little. Kind of let him do it right because again, he's definitely like Olympic style like the man.
Yeah,
But I mean, but sometimes I feel like that's the thing. Like I feel like instead of just trying to push people like verbally like that, like of course you got to promote, but at the same time, like I think to me, you gotta just let people work and have fun, let them develop, and then the
yeah.
people go see their talent.
And WWE is really bad at like going too long with the same people, like hanging on to them.
Yeah,
And they got so many people in like, I'm looking at like. In fact, I was watching when I watched the Royal Rumble. I'm like, okay, they finally showed the Street Profits, who haven't done a whole lot of anything for a while. And I'm like,
yeah,
a few years ago, these guys were supposed to be the next big thing. Like everyone talking about Montez Ford, like he's going to be the next breakout superstar. Now they're barely on TV. I'm like, what happened?
yeah, yeah, and that's the thing that I don't like about WWE. Like have a lot of talented people. Like I said, sometimes, like I said, you have to get fast.
Yeah,
And like I said, never know what people chance. Like say for instance, a lot of times, like say for instance, God forbid, top superstars get hurt. Now you got to go to the locker room, got to grab somebody to step up. And a lot of times, now, oh, I didn't know this guy could do. That's the thing. Wrestling should be. It should
absolutely.
never be like that's telling us. Like it's time for them to take something that was memorable, but do something different with it. I mean, let's be real. Ratings are a lot different now because social media has a lot of people's attention elsewhere.
Yes,
But the people who love wrestling are gonna be regardless. You know? So if people are wrestling, you talent, start utilizing everybody and just try something different.
they need to get to the how it used to be the back of the when they were. If we're gonna take anything from the Attitude Era, is this. They don't do it nearly as much anymore. Is leave you cliffhangers so where it makes you want to go. Oh, I gotta watch next week to see what happens next
Yeah,
because
I remember that.
that's the one thing that they say. If you take anything from the Attitude Era that, or the Monday Night War period, if both companies did this, they left you with something like, okay, what happened here? Because they went off the air at the right time before like something big happened. So you got to wait till next week to say, okay, what happened when the camera went off the air? Something happened. We didn't see it yet. What happened? I
Yeah,
got to
and
watch
then
now.
another thing, like I'm gonna be honest with you, I gotta say with them, Paul Heyman,
Yeah.
Eric Bischoff, when I think about them being managers, Teddy Long, holla holla holla,
Yeah.
Hey, when I think about Teddy and running SmackDown, I think about Paul Heyman and WA running SmackDown too sometimes.
Yeah, it was.
But when I think about it, right, when them guys were managing, man, like it was organic, like it gave you much like when you get up and go to work and you bossing,
Right.
like they
And
were geniuses at that. And I feel like back to Adam P. And I mean, of course, I think that now that it's doing something a little different, but I kind of liked it when they had when they had the general managers who kind of had a little personality.
right.
Like I feel like the general, like I said, no knock on Adam. It would be nice to see him utilize him a little personality.
And
I'm not saying he has to be a bad guy, but just you know, it's just like I said, like Paul Heyman, Teddy Long, and even Eric Bischoff, like them guys had a little. Even Triple H was like he was pretty
right.
thing.
The authority.
Even Corbin Kane.
Yeah. And like SmackDown has Nick Aldis, right? There's so much more that he can
Yeah,
do with him. A lot
yeah,
more he can do with him. Because this guy,
yeah.
because Nick Aldis not only is he a trained wrestler who's still, hell, he can still wrestle. Because that's what he was doing before he went to WWE. Was he was still wrestling, and he was always very. He had a, and he always. And I watched him for many years, and the guy can talk his ear off. There's so much he can do on that mic that he don't really give a lot of mic time. Like, dude, you get a really good talker here that you're not utilizing.
And see what I like about Adam and Nick. I'm glad you brought Nick up. Now they have a real dynamic from Paul Heyman, Teddy Long, right?
Yep.
Because Paul Heyman was more like a mouthpiece. Talked a lot, but he had Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
He had backup. He had somebody that that's what Paul Heyman used to deal with. Now the difference between Heyman and like Adam and Nick, right? Adam and Nick, because a lot of people I know that if they're not heavy wrestling fans, but Adam can wrestle too.
Yeah.
And so to me, I feel like show Adam and guys that they gotta take their shoot off right they know.
And on social
Don't
media, they've been hinting that. And it
yeah,
appears
don't hold these guys back. Let them be different. managers because we seen the managers that like to run it happy, happy.
Right.
Now these guys that can take the jacket off and say like Rick, no,
Like I'll put you in my, but I'll put you in your place. Even though even though I gotta do it myself, I'll still do it. They were capable
yeah,
of doing that.
but you know what else? I was really kind of disappointed. I wish WWE I wish they would have Tonga because he I thought that would have been because like I liked how they had like he was a lawyer
Yes,
and a wrestler. Like I wish they
there
to
was a lot
like
more they could have done with that, especially with the little coffee and everything. He's like, "Yep." Like, come on, man. They cut that off way too soon and let
and,
him
and,
go
and,
way
and
too
even
soon.
and even Wade Barrett, we share the same name, but Wade Barrett. But I like when he bad news.
He had that podium that rose up. Like, I'm afraid of some bad news. Good stuff. That was really
Yeah,
good
that's what I'm
stuff.
saying. Like that's what I'm saying. Like let these showcase for their characters and jobbers, right? Like okay, just got a guy like Braun versus a jobber. The goal is to make Braun look. Some of these jobbers, because we all know you probably see him as a different character half the time.
As one thing they did well. They did a couple years ago with James Ellsworth. Like he was that jobber guy, but like he looked so weird. Or, like they kept using him. They had him as like Carmella and all that. The best thing I ever saw was they're setting up for Survivor Series with a Raw vs SmackDown, and Ellsworth was like the I guess he was supposed to be the SmackDown mascot or whatever. And they're in the ring, all Team Raw versus all Team SmackDown. Jericho looks over there like, what the hell is that? He called him like a lost child and everything. He's like, you're a weird looking man. Do you have a weird looking man who showed up on Raw? You just made a list.
But I gotta say, I give honor to. I gotta say, like Bray Wyatt, precious characters, and wrestling like in a wild hat because like when you talk about Bray Wyatt, and the Wyatt family, I thought that was a and I was like to me, I thought wrestling like I thought WWE had been revived because that was something fresh, that was different. Of course, that came in the Undertaker. Bray Wyatt was, and even when he started doing it like the Firefly Funhouse, right?
Yes.
Like even that in the Fiend, he was like, man, like I love seeing it. Like that's what I'm saying. Like that's what I hope returns to wrestling. Like they start letting these wrestlers, create what you need. You know, like even Uncle Howdy, right? Like we know Bray Wyatt's uncle, a
Yeah.
cowboy, and they Howdy as like a pretty cool. Man. So like I like that type of stuff. Different, it's unique. You know?
And Bray was like, he obviously rest in peace to him. He's gone way too soon. He had bar none probably one of the greatest returns WWE when he came back at Extreme Rules. The
Yeah,
way that was done was amazing. It still gave
yeah,
me
man.
chills
And like I said,
it gave me chills just
I
rewatching it.
I really hope, especially when I start, God willing, more involved in it. I hope to see more creative like Bray Wyatt. Because, like I said, to me, that brought something really fresh, Because, like, the Wyatt family, like, even when they went, like, Brock Lesnar, when they eliminated him out of the Rumble,
Yeah.
it was cool to see that, like, the Wyatt family, they wasn't scared of nobody. Anybody that got in their path, they dealt with him. Like, that was really, like, cool, original. I liked it. I loved his imagination because, like I said, even Firefly Funhouse, right? How he made Sister Abigail. He
Yes.
made the rabbit. He made Buzzard. And those characters kind of represent Huskies. Like we about it. Like all of those characters, they represented something, Because
And
like you think about Husky Harry, like with the, so I thought it was like, Bray Wyatt had a way of like really innovative and kind of paying homage to like some of his past.
that's what's so cool about the White Six. Or the White Six they call them. All those characters, if you notice, they're all those characters come to life.
Yeah.
Like Uncle Howdy, then there's like, you know, all those guys they're wearing these masks. Like, oh, he's the buzzard, he's the pig, he's
Yeah.
it's like oh crap. And there's so much that can be done with that whole group. They haven't really. I don't think I honestly say they haven't even stressed the surface what they could do with that. They
And
just
see, but I don't know, like working with WWE as far as writing. But like I said, I understand that I don't blame the writers because they probably do what they're told. But truth be
right.
told, let these imagination wrestling is telling. And like I
Yes.
said, you know, I may have only had 2 years training, but I am a student. You
Right.
know. And everybody has a bit of imagination. Like you don't have to have no degree and nothing like that to be there. That's common sense. Everybody
Right.
has the but start to kind of put it into wrestling and like just get it because like I said, like it's not going back to what.
No.
So you might as well make it as great as you can in the next generation.
And I think the White Six has so much potential of doing just that. They're just given the opportunity to really explore what they can and give them that freedom to create. They can do a lot.
I'm gonna tell you what happened. I had this really cool idea where I was gonna pair it up with a Latino wrestler, right?
Right.
I was gonna be his manager, and I came up with saying, but you know what? They never gave me a chance. And to me, it's kind of like I was like, it's kind of their loss because, like I said, a lot of times you have to try things.
Right.
Don't know if something's gonna work until you try it. And so to me, it's like a lot of times, it's like sometimes people get that extra push, because like I said, I seen so many talented people really didn't get utilized. And me,
Right.
I know CM Punk is very outspoken, and I appreciate him for that
Yes.
because I think the truth be told, like some of these are a little stale,
Yeah, they are.
a little stale, and I think that I think they should work a little harder, like not just trying to throw the same people out there, but actually utilize people and try to give everybody a fair chance because again, keep using the same people, same result, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But if you try something a little, you never know what may come. You know,
And
like every now and then you catch somebody that's like, oh my god, like TNA. They have to somebody got to grab this guy. Like, why is this person not in WWE? But it's very rare that you. And I think the reason why is because you have to realize different. Because even if you're trying to make the same people, you gotta try different storyline. Even because it doesn't just make one person look, it makes everybody look.
and I honestly think AEW has more of those kind of guys in the waiting for their opportunity than WWE does right now. I mean, because I think me comes to my head is like, Ricky Starks is a prime example. Danhausen is another example. And I just watched Danhausen just do an interview recently talking about, yeah, I'm still a top merchandise seller for AEW, but I'm not on TV.
Yeah.
It's like, huh? Like, clearly the fans want to see you, and so that means that AEW need to pay more attention to that. Like, hey, we gotta find something for this guy. Don't care what it is, find something.
Yeah, because if you don't valid it, like and that's why sometimes and sometimes I have to explain like my little cousins because they'll be like, why didn't WWE? Why didn't they let the person go? And sometimes I have to explain. You know what? Sometimes just because people do a bigger promotion, sometimes it may seem like it's. Sometimes for some people, might have like let's be real. It's an honor to probably go there. It's an honor to go to WWE. An honor to go to TNA. So sometimes for some people, when there may not be the best option,
Right,
if they're not going to utilize. So it's just like, and like I said, I'm not afraid to tell the truth, but it is. But
right,
you know, it's like to me, if we are professionals and wrestling industry,
yeah,
you got to realize everybody in native. Just do something different because you know it's not like because like when you think about ratings right now, I keep people like most that they find out everything they watch the highlights nowadays.
right.
Let's be real. So might as well chance because you might have a chance to create a respect.
Right. And I'm one of those people who do a lot of highlight watching because it is hard for me, watch a 3 hour Raw or 3 hour SmackDown these days. Because
Yeah,
it's Friday night. I'm not going to sit at home for watch wrestling for 3 hours on a Friday night. It's hard for me to do that. I have a
that's
life, I'd rather be
yeah,
I'd rather be out and about at an independent show on the weekends. Watching wrestling in person. So it's
yeah.
hard for me to do that. Or on a Monday when Raw was a 3 hour show. Again, it's a work night. I gotta get up in the morning.
And like I said, I feel like to me, I'm just like I love wrestling, but I feel like people because I talk to different people. Like I'm pretty sure if you watch a lot of people tell you I don't watch it. It's not the same, but I don't think I'm watching it because it's just not what it used to be. Because nothing is what. But I
No.
think to be honest, they gotta have a reason, you know. And like I said, when you see people like CM, you see people like even Edge. I know he's W now, but when you see those guys, sometimes you might be flicking TV and you see CM, you might just watch it because
I remember
he's
him.
still around. Yeah, that's my boy. You watch it for the memories, but talent coming up, you want to be able to start for people to stop what they want to say. Wow, that guy's impressive. That girl's impressive. You know.
and
And to me, I just feel like they certain people, but it's a lot more people can do.
I'll be honest, like both companies are guilty of this. There's so many talent that I know I personally want to see more of, are not getting put on TV like they should be, are being utilized what they do. They should have been the whole time they're in the company. One
Yeah,
just recently getting ready to leave or is leaving AEW, and I always loved him since he was in NXT. That's Malachi
yeah.
Black, aka Aleister Black.
Okay. Yeah, Alistair Black. Yeah,
He was This guy has so much. He's one of those Bray Wyatt minds because I've seen him. I listened to him like on his wife's Twitch stream. He was on there a few times. He used to share with her during the pandemic. His mind, how it works, reminds me how Bray Wyatt mind worked. He had all these ideas in his head that he just needs to somebody needs to let him just you know let it all out.
yeah, and that's true because, like I said, like and I'm not gonna lie, it's not just the pro wrestling business. It can be industry because the film
Oh yeah,
industry is the same way. But to me, it's time for people to let the creativity be outside the box. Because if you keep trying to capture what you used to, it's gonna be stale. Like I said, it works for the old wrestlers because
right.
people know them. People gonna stop. What Ric Flair still doing in the ring? Right? People, people, stuff like that. People see a lot of the new, but not the new, but people that's now getting exposure because a
Right.
lot of wrestlers are not necessarily new. They're just exposed to the televised. But I'm just saying, like, let people start to have that spark because, like I said, in AEW, even like I said in the women's division, they have a lot of talented people. You know?
They do.
I mean, Ruby Soho, she's killing it to me.
Yep.
I like to see more of her. And Layla Hirsch.
Yep.
She's pretty interesting. Thunder Rosa was that thing at one time. So it's so many talented people out here, man. Like I just start like being.
And they AEW has come a long way with their women. And I know
Yeah,
Ruby Soho is out having a baby, so she's gonna be out for a little while. Um,
yeah,
that's where she's been anyway. So there's a reason why she's not there. But like, I look at like how much far Tony Storm has come since she got
yeah,
there, doing the whole timeless Tony Storm gimmick, which is like it's really it's different.
yeah.
Again, it is different, and it was so good how she plays that role.
I like Willow Nightingale too.
Yes,
I think she's a pretty talented young lady, and so that's what I'm saying. Like I would like to see more of some of these because again, because again, attitude everything.
Yeah,
and I appreciate it at the time, but time for them to start letting younger people create new memories and like
absolutely.
not try to like hold like okay, you know, some forms don't change, but there's still some things that you have to do different because again, I feel like back in the day, even back in the day, got overlooked. Let's be real,
Oh yeah,
you know.
there,
I think the professional wrestling business break that tradition. That's
I
just my own personal opinion.
there's like a laundry list of people from back in the day that like there should have been more with this guy, more with that guy, you know. And
Yeah.
I could sit there all night long talking, making same bringing up names about on that, and it's like, yeah, he could have done more. He could have done a lot more.
Yeah, and it's like, and I like, and that's why I like seeing bets around and stuff like that. But that's the perfect time to like kind of put the different storylines, you know. Because to me, it's not about because we gotta understand every professional wrestler that's in the had that every
Yes,
professional wrestler in the business had that point in career that people were. But over time, so like I said, I always say this that this is just my personal opinion. I believe that everybody deserves a chance. And gotta or nobody have to be but I think that if you don't let people showcase their skills like you know, because like to me, I'm not a limit. So like if I
right,
own a wrestling promotion, I would want to make something and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not interested though. By the way, I'm just saying hypothetically. But
right,
if I were to own, I would love to see a promotion to where you utilize everybody and you try to be a little more creative the storylines. Because again, part of it is wrestling, part of it is story. You know? So you have to have things built up to the moment.
right.
Everything's and so like I said, you gotta get a little creative and just try to do something, you know?
And this is, people say what they want about this, my thought process, but one of the biggest issues I have with AEW is they have too many people on the roster. So it's hard for these wrestlers to get TV time to really showcase what they can do because he's got almost 200 people on the roster and 4 hours of TV right
Yeah.
now. So it's like, there's got to be a point where like you got to have a cap number. Like, okay, how many people can you actually realistically have on your roster? They're all given proper TV time to really showcase what they can do.
Well, I liked how WWE had had have Raw, had SmackDown. They got. I remember back when they had Heat, Velocity,
Yep.
you know.
Now they
And to me, I think that like AEW because I know AEW have Dynamite Collision. To me, it's when you have a lot of people roster like that, we have to have a few shows. I understand shows cost money.
right.
That's the biggest thing. And so I give a little grace toward AEW because I feel like they've been doing it quite a while, but I also they're I think they're just trying to they're trying to give a chance. And I also think they're still trying to figure it out too, you know.
And didn't
I
help
think
they
I think they're trying to figure it out too, you know.
and they had a good like concept early in the earlier days because obviously we lost Rampage recently. It kind of hurt a little bit too. That the whole another hour of wrestling they could have done something, but before they even have that, they had they had the YouTube shows, which allow people at least do work and kind of catch some attention on that as
And
well.
I think maybe they may have to go back to that because, like I say, but there's a way, always a way.
Yes,
You know? But because, like I said, I'm grateful to AEW that they're bringing people a chance
yeah,
that got overlooked. But the thing is, I think the main important is not to fall into the same trap that some of the other promotions. You know, have so many not utilized because all of these individuals are talented. You know, and so it's just a way of knowing how to properly try to use everybody.
and
You know,
AEW's
and then
kind of fallen into this bad habit of that WCW kind of fell into, which is relying too much on their top these big names that they brought in that are in their 50s and so forth. That yeah, it's great that Adam Copeland can still wrestle, or Edge can still wrestle, or Christian can wrestle. I'm glad they can, and I enjoy watching them wrestle. But can't like these guys can't not be your main base or main heel to this day. We have all the other guys that needed that opportunity to raise up to the next level to be your who's going to be your guys in the next 5 years, 10 years from now when they're gone.
And see, that's to me. I think that sometimes the veterans have to remember that at one they were fresh,
Yes.
they were green, as they say, they were green. And when they came on the scene, somebody had to kind of work with them to pass the torch. And I think that's the thing that people have to always remember where you come from. I don't care who you are, always remember where you come from. Always remember that, So none of us are gonna be young forever.
Right.
So, to me, you gotta live in the moment, enjoy every moment. Because again, like, pro wrestling is an industry. I mean, it's not perfect. Of
No.
course, there's some mean, but but I mean, though, like, you have to understand it's about creating for the fans. And to me, like, and I think WWE had this problem back in the day too when I was young. But I used to watch it, right? There was some matches that you would just be so invested in. Then there's some other matches it's just like, okay, that was okay. And I think that no match should be. I think that every match ought to have people's attention.
Yeah.
I think every match ought to have some type of creativity. It's just like a movie, right? Every scene drives a point. You know, every scene in purpose. A lot of time in wrestling, you don't just want a match just to trying to fill a card.
And to be honest, the last few years of Vince McMahon WWE and then when he ran WWE, he was he was really bad at this. Okay, one week we have a tag match between like Mandy Rose and uh Talia in a tag match against who was it? Nia Jackson, somebody, and every single week they had the same matches between these four people in some capacity. I'm like, we saw this last week. Why are we doing
Yeah,
this again this week? Nothing's different from the week before. Why are we doing this again? Like
yeah.
they didn't add nothing to it. They're like, okay, rematch, fine, cool, but what's the reason why we have this rematch? Give me a reason why. What's going to make this different from what we saw last week? There was nothing
Yeah,
there. Watching
and
them
that's
like, huh, this is like what I saw last week. I might have watched last week all over again. That was what Vince McMahon was very bad at doing the last few years when he was in charge. Repetitiveness, I call it.
and that's the issue that I kind of have, like, just having a card. Just okay, we got this match, and like, but I think that every match, like, it's
Yeah,
just like with making a film, right? Every scene is not just there for no reason.
right.
Every match should be there to tell a story. Like, it's not just to be just about filling a card. Because when you just like one of my teachers just do it, have a purpose for it. And I think sometimes some of the matches kind of just feel like
They're just
it
there.
just feel like they're just throwing it together just to kind of pass the time.
That's what it was. Like Vince was like, all he cared about was opening segment, the big long promo at the start of the show, the main event.
But to me, but to me, if you care about race, that's a terrible way to do things.
And like so, like everything in the middle of the show was like it's just a bunch of stuff. I'm like, there's gotta be a reason why you're having this stuff here. Like, tell me a
Yeah,
reason why I should be invested in watching the stuff that you're putting in front of me. I want to know. I need something to
yeah,
keep me, keep me from not picking up that remote and say, I don't want to watch this no more. I want to give me a reason like, hey, why should I watch next week if you're gonna give me the same thing all over again, kind of thing. And that's what
yeah.
Vince was doing so badly at the beginning. It's gotten a lot better from not doing that, but still far from perfect. As far as
Yeah, but every match should have something. It shouldn't just be because again, like when you watch a movie, right? Every scene, like we
yeah,
just said, it drives that storyline. Of course, every match is story, but start having something like don't just say okay, it's gonna be person versus that person, but ultimately your mind is just a main event. Like no, every match should be a main event.
It should
And what
be.
I mean is every because of course you got the big build up, but to me,
Right.
this is the thing, right? Because talk about ratings, and say, oh, the ratings are up, the ratings are down. But if you care about ratings,
It
it
matters.
matters.
And
It don't take a rocket scientist to know
right.
that.
And that's what how during the Midnight Wars, that's how they were because they were trying to beat the other company, so they had reasons why we're stacking their cards because like, hey, we want our show to be better than that show because we want to win this war this week. And they
Yeah.
had that mindset, and then because of that mindset, they all stepped up to the next level. It's like, okay, we got to outdo what we did last week because we got to beat them this week because they beat us last week, and vice versa.
I'll take you back to where the segment with Ric Flair and Carlito, right? And Ric Flair tells Carlito, like, so many got no heart, man. You know? And Ric Flair tells Carlito about how he worked hard in this past. And then I think him and Carlito wrestled that night. But see how they had moments like that,
Yes.
Even though that was not attitude, not that. I'm just saying that, like, I feel like they're missing those segments. Make the whole night about storytelling. Don't just try to say, hey, just, had a commercial in 5 minutes. Okay, just put them two in the ring. Whatever. Like, it's useless. Care about ratings. Every match should be. It should never just be filler. Like every match should have a good. Every match should be like, man, that was impressive.
And that's what I liked about Ruthless Aggression era. That was one of my favorite eras. Was just like the era right after Attitude ended. That was like when they started the brand split and everything because especially Raw. Raw was probably maybe better than SmackDown when it came to this because actually Raw had the Triple H and the Evolution stuff going on, right? But they also had the women were like doing all this stuff that made me invested in that too because they were having all these intense matches. Like Trish and Victoria, Lita and Trish had a big long storyline that got really personal and so forth. And Jazz was involved in that. All these women, but they always had a reason why they were fighting for that title and why they're going after Trish, or whoever the champion may be. They had that extra storyline in the middle. Say, hey, I need to watch what they're doing as well, but not just the main event. They have this going on as well. Then they had the IC title picture was when they brought the belt back. Like, oh, Christian and Jericho are fighting over the belt. RVD's doing his thing as well. Like it was one of the things. Like, okay, I had more reason to watch the entire show during that time because there were so many things that kept me invested to keep watching.
And even like since the Rock is back right now, like I would still like to see the Rock get in night sometime because I feel like some of these guys now that they got older, show up, talk more,
Yeah.
wrestle less. I kind of think change. I'm not saying that you got to go out there every night because I know sometimes when know you kind of slow down a little bit. I
Yeah.
understand like you can't wrestle every night, but some nights why not have the Rock come out and then one of the other wrestlers come out, one somebody you don't say Rock, you do a lot of talking.
Let's do this.
Yeah, you know
Let's,
what I'm
let's see if you
saying?
can back it up
You got
still.
a lot of talking. Rock, let's see you back it up, and let's see the Rock go up other people. Just something different. Because you
Absolutely.
already, because it's so predictable. Like you already know somebody comes back, see some come back, and they talking and Rock going back down on somebody. He gonna whack him and knock him down and hit rock bottom and. But
We know.
but what about switching? Rocking some tag team matches some nights with some. I'm different.
Well, she had done that in years, as far as like working a TV show and have a match on a TV show. And I
Which I
remember
think a tag team match would probably be more ideal because you don't have to do as much work.
exactly, and that still would be pet. Most people would enjoy the hell out of that just for that.
Yeah, so it's just something like I'm gonna be I got a lot. Well, one thing I can say about I can say in the ring. I'm talking. I got a lot of respect for Rick Flair in the ring in his 70s, you
hmm
know, and Rick Flair well in his 60s still would lace up them boots and go out there as often as you know.
Well, he actually he turned 60 when he actually had the final match for WWE. I would say against Shawn Michaels. He was 60 years old in that match, and he was wrestling every single week up to that point. Every single week, Flair was out there, and that's amazing. And then he obviously had a little break, and he did TNA. Whether that was a good reason or good or bad to do
Yeah,
that, but he still got out there and said, "Hey, I may not be the guy I was in my 30s, but I still could get in that ring and do something."
yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. That I respect that about Rick. Like I said, I'm not holding anybody to that. I'm just
Right.
saying, you know, I'm not saying that you gotta wait till you go out there. What I'm saying is just guys are on the scene. So every precious. So kind of utilize them. And I'm not saying that you have to, but start just with people.
And that's what was great about when Sting was in AEW. Like, yeah, he would work TV matches and have tag matches with Darby Allin on TV, 6-man, regular tag, whatever the case may be. He knew he can't do singles matches. He admitted that to everybody. Like, I can't go better out by myself and do a whole lot. But he did a lot more than people expected him to do. Thinking, oh yeah, well he had this bad neck. He was this and that for that's what kept him away from WWE and all this stuff. He went to AEW and was like, okay, but I can only do tag matches, but by the way, I can dive off balconies, I can dive off ladders, and do all this stuff. I'm like, dude, you're in your 60s and you're doing this? Like, who? It was. I was just like floored by it. I'm like, I can't believe he's doing this. And I was so intrigued in seeing him do it because he was always one of my all-time favorites.
You know what I like? I remember that's when Rock, I think it was fighting John Cena. I
Yes,
know John Cena was fighting somebody and it came out
yes,
and just I think he might have been fighting Cena. And he
it
was
was.
fighting and the Big Show started beating down and then the Rock came running to the ring. Rock started beating and then CM came out of nowhere and just
I was at that
closed
show.
line the Rock. Like that was awesome,
I
you
was
know.
at that show. That was the 1000th Raw. Matter of fact, and it was so funny because it reminded me of the post show. The stuff you don't see on TV when they always playing with the crowd. The Rock continued to entertain after the show went off the air. I think he hit another people elbow on the Big Show, and the Big Show like lay there forever. Like he sold it like he killed him. It was just so funny and the Rock and to see the Rock just doing the stuff you used to do as far as like, hey, I'm not just gonna, I'm Mr. Hollywood now. I'm still gonna be out here after the show doing my thing. And I remember seeing that as it happened because I was at that show. And one of my favorite shows because it was Raw 1000, so the celebration of Raw for thousandth episode of Raw. So like seeing all the people who appear on that, a lot of my childhood was involved in that show because he had Undertaker come making his first appearance in WrestleMania that year. We had Lita return after a long hiatus, and she had a bunch of people that were like, she had Piper, she had Rikishi behind her, and APA and all that. They beat up Heath Slater. And it was like a lot of fun. And we had DX doing their skit.
Yeah, I thought Heath Slater had a really interesting character, like when he was attacked by all the legends every week. Like I thought that was pretty. That's, something and make every moment. Because our people, wrestlers, I don't care whether they're in the middle, at the beginning of the show, all of those, all of those show to show, driving from town to town, probably sleeping in the car, get to that. So don't treat them like any less. So I feel like everybody, because again, like I said, I don't follow trends and none of that stuff. Like I'm all about just respecting everybody.
One of
And
the
just giving everybody that.
one of the coolest, speeches I heard was last year at the First Circle Expo. Right, it was from Victoria, legendary wrestler in WWE. Former world champion, one of Trish's biggest rivalries, and so forth. She could not said it any better what she said at that time, because she was a fan, and she hung out with the fans after because the way they do their event was like they have the signings, and then they have a wrestling show. They had a little karaoke after party, right? She was out there hanging with, partying with the fans, just being like everybody else. Didn't act like she was above anybody. She was like
Yeah,
everybody else. So down to earth, but she got on the mic and like when the song was done, she got on the mic and said, "Wrestling is a family. It may be a dysfunctional at times, but we are a family." And people say the word like terminology of "you're a market" like it's a bad word. Like if you love wrestling in any capacity, everybody's a mark in some capacity. If you're following wrestling, you're part of wrestling. You enjoy it in any aspect. That makes you a mark. And she always like, "We're all here because we love wrestling. We're a family." And I'm like, bad props for saying that. You know?
yeah, because I think that's the thing. Like sometimes, human beings we have ego and
Yes.
things of that nature. But truth be told, like let's be everybody have good days, have bad days.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think a good gesture to kind and be respectful to everybody because again, all of the individual industry, pretty much I believe, because like I said, a lot of people take time and again, like I say, not all wrestlers are being paid. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like are working hard and taking, but they just try to make something happen. Like I said, I didn't get I got into it as a hobby. I got into it as an outlet to have fun. But
Right.
I've seen how hard some other individuals worked. I'm like, everybody deserves the same respect. Like to me, it's not about like whether your name is at the top of the card or the bottom of the card. Like the fact is, I put effort,
Like you're getting
and
that
you out
ring.
there trying to make a difference and in the ring having fun. Like that's all that matters.
That's what wrestling's all about. Like getting that when you're on, no matter what kind of wrestling show you're on, like your main job is no matter how many people are there, entertain those people. That's all
I'm gonna
you.
tell you something, man. I've been in the funeral
Yeah.
for almost, and
Wow.
no matter who a person is, you know, hey, I put it like this: when a person is gone, they know him. I
Right.
take that as motivation. Treat people right, and if you're
Exactly.
blessed to be a wrestler, have fun. Like everybody got the time to shine, and everybody got the time to hang up. So I just think everybody deserves to have their moment. Everybody deserves to be in the showcase. Again, it's a lot of talented people. I just hope
Yes.
to just start to utilize. I think that they will start seeing it.
And that's one of the things I learned from the conversation I had with Herb was that since the biggest issue in the wrestling industry, there are a lot of sketchy slash carny style promoters that don't who do not want to pay their talent. They want to try to steal money from them and whatnot. It's like the biggest advice he ever got was when he worked with Sam Monson was what's going to get you so far as a promoter in wrestling is if you're straightforward and honest with your talent. That's a big thing, like and I always lived by he always lived by those words, and that's why he'd be able to do it for 52 years because
yeah,
people respect him for being honest and know
yeah,
that what he says to your face is his word. You know, and there's not a lot of people out there that can do that. They'll say
man. That's
one thing and then they do the opposite, so you show up, but like, hey, all of a sudden, where's the show at? Why is it canceled? You know, and
yeah,
I traveled all the way on my dime, realizing, hey, I'm not gonna get paid now. I'm gonna get home.
yeah,
There's a lot of
yeah. And
those
see that,
stories.
and see that's the thing. Like that's why I say truthful
Right,
because to me, I hold myself accountable to God,
right,
and I always be mindful how I treat people. Like I said, whatever I do, I want to always be kind to people. Hey, that's what's gonna matter because
yes,
wrestler, right? Like never want like you don't want that. So you're an awesome person, and you know,
right,
sure that time does to me anything else you, and that's why like I always say that like my advice to treat everybody right, and like you
yes,
said, be truthful, be honest. Cause we understand, it's hard times ahead. Everybody
yes,
understands. Everybody's not going, you know, a millionaire off of wrestling, but
right,
the fact is, like some people just love it. I think that's why I say that everybody deserves that because I had a really good friend of mine, wrestling, and I feel like he actually, I believe he kind of got a little discouraged
right,
at it, but like I said, they never used, you know. Like I said, me, I got it hobby. So to
right,
me, I got other things. That was just my outlet. I just hated to see so many talented people pass. And so
yeah,
I'm very outspoken about that because I didn't.
absolutely. And sometimes you just gotta stick up for those people, be
You
that
got to.
voice.
You can't. You gotta be like Sam. Can't be truthful because nothing ever changes. Everybody knows.
What was the saying? The voice of the voiceless.
Yeah, I love it.
And
And
it's
that's one
true
thing.
that.
Everybody that out of who I'm a very person. So
Right,
I can't. I'm one of the people. I don't care. Famous. No. But then I see it. I tell you,
yeah,
no matter who you. That's just my personality because all of us. And you just gotta respect. You never know. Like say like somebody is kind.
right. It's the cheapest thing to do. Be
Yeah,
kind.
you're right.
It don't cost
Yeah,
nothing.
cause
Doesn't
it
cost
don't,
them a dime.
and that's why, like I said, always when you treat people, I don't care who makes it different. I think that, like I said, wrestling world, I just would hope start seeing helpful more
Mhm.
than one. And like I said, I'm not all. I'm kind of in and out of it. I just would like to see can to it. I think that like I say, ain't no big ass and little.
Right,
Again, like if you fans really sometimes if sometimes if you not the promoter, I see something different.
yeah,
And this is
absolutely.
not popular opinion, but I'm just
Right. And you just never know what'll happen from that. You never know.
people. Sometimes people try to tell it like it is because I'll be around a lot of interviews. I'm not. It's not about fame. Not about this. That I've been around all type of people. I tell you, I treat everybody the same because trust is a. I love everybody,
Right,
so I never want to like I'm better than it. I always treat people right. That's all that really matters. So that's why I say that. That's one thing I would like to see on the program. Like
right,
let's see him kind of. Not saying that they weren't because there was some kind. There was some. I try to try to bring attitude. Like I said, it don't matter who you, how long. Everybody still.
right. Exactly, absolutely. So we're gonna try wrapping up for this. We've been doing it for an hour and a half, which is
Oh
awesome.
man, hey, but you know what? Best hour and a half ever because
Right.
guess what? real conversation.
Right.
It wasn't like on the bush, like we kept it real, kept it 100. And to me,
Exactly.
that's a beautiful thing because, like I said, like sometimes people hear this stuff because like it may not be what's popular, but
It's the
I
truth.
think it's still the right thing because again, so many talented people out there that would love to see you guys start utilizing all your talent, promote everybody a fair chances.
So before we wrap things up, the one thing I want to ask you before you do is you say you've been doing independent film work for the last 15 now. So what kind of project have you been working on, and where can we find your work?
Okay, so I've been doing filmmaking for 8 years. I've been in a funeral business,
Okay.
but yeah, I just want to clean it up a little bit. But yeah, you can find my work on Vimeo. It's Wade Filmmaker 777 on Vimeo. I have a web series called Love Always Wins. Little romantic short comedies, visual poems. I do them all. But I'm actually becoming a documentarian, so I do have one documentary out called Rago Funeral Home about the Rago Chicago. But I'm actually in the process of working on more documentaries. But if you want to check out some of my past work, Wade 777 on. So
Okay.
feel free to check me out.
I want to get a lot of people, my audience to see your work, and hopefully get more people, viewers on that as well. But
Yeah, thank you. Like I said, it isn't perfect, but you know what I'm
right,
saying?
I say the same thing about my podcast. It ain't perfect, but it's mine.
It wouldn't be because of you, yourself, man.
Exactly.
I really love your podcast. I really thank you for having me on. And
Absolutely.
anytime you want to chat, feel free to reach out because, like, I really appreciate this conversation because I do have some friends in the wrestling business I talk to all day, and sometimes some of the things expressed today they have concerns about, but they're not in a position to say anything
Right.
because so me, I ain't scared of nobody, so I don't fear nobody but God. So I'm not afraid to because I think that that's the only that change will really happen. So you gotta be real. Like I said, I don't care nobody better than.
And absolutely, and that's what was my main thing about this podcast I wanted to do. I don't care what level you are in the wrestling business. Once you've done something in it, I don't care if you're a referee, a manager, you're the guy that holds the curtain in the back, whatever. You just training, you just work. Anybody who's been involved, or just being a fan, I love to just have good, general conversation about what it is you do in wrestling or what your favorites are in wrestling and all that kind of stuff. We could talk about for hours if we wanted to, you know.
Man, you know what? But you actually just said a mouthful. Because I remember when Kane did retirement speech,
Yep.
he thanked them from behind the scenes to help them in front of the scenes.
Right.
But a lot of people may not know there's a lot of people involved with pro wrestling who you never see.
Right. The
Who
guy.
you may never know even involved with it. Like to me, everybody deserves the same respect. Everybody deserves the same love. And like I said, it's not really a competition. I think if we look at it as a community, I think wrestling could go out more further than it has been because it's a popular thing.
It
But
is.
like I said, I think it's time for them to take a little bit of a.
Because I want people like I'm interested to even talk. I talk to a cameraman because
Yeah,
there's so many things I would ask the camera about. I want to know from a cameraman point of view, like how do you know when this is the right shot? How do you know where to be for this shot?
yeah,
There's always that's what I'm saying. Like I don't care.
absolutely, man. Let me tell you, there's so many talented people, and like you said, there are some people trained. Some people like myself, like me. When I trained, I worked shows. I did
Right.
security for the shows, but as far as getting into wrestling, I didn't get the chance, the opportunity yet to do so. But again, I got so many I'm working on. I wasn't necessarily
Focus on that.
forcing it because it was a hobby for me. But
Yes.
I do try to take a stand for those individuals in the work though,
Right.
and who could have been because, like I said, I got some friends that you know talented, but they just got overlooked. I think, like I said, I just think everybody deserves a fair chance because, yeah, man, like sometimes people, yeah, because sometimes you can look at a person and say, man, I think that person gonna do that, but really, no, everybody has potential. You know? It's
It's
kind of like in Star Wars, right?
right.
Everybody got course, but you got to be able to tap into it.
Exactly. Well, anyway, I want to thank you very, very much for being on this episode. I definitely like to have you back on at some point. It's been a great conversation, and we'll talk to you very soon.
Oh man, and like I said, keep wrestling, and all you out there, by their time to shine, I'd be surprised.
Right. Thank you very much.